Hey, Hanna.
Hi, Hanna.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
And please, can you tell us who is
Hanna
Hanna?
Arie-Gaifman,
Hanna, okay.
the
Director,
director
Emeritus, yeah,
America
of,
of 92nd Street Tisch Center for the Arts in New York.
can you
Yes.
imagine? Can
Hanna,
I touch you?
how many years you did it?
Sorry, I did it for over 20 years.
Wow.
And now that's it, right? You're going towards the next mission.
Yep.
What is it?
What's the next mission?
So while working on all the things I've been working, I realized that, we do every year a memorial for the victims of the Holocaust and victims of that and victims of communism and victims. And we indulge a little bit, the Jews and the Israelis, indulge a little bit too much in the victim aspect of our existence. But what we don't do is recognize the tremendous achievements in spite of all those years of being victims in different frameworks.
Wow.
So I'm really interested in bringing out through different programs the achievements.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Whether it's a series of interviews of people who can speak about very complicated things in a simple way, or composers, performers, playwrights, writers. We have so much all over the world.
Right.
And it's not, we Israelis recognize very little. And when we do, we don't give ourselves the joy of it.
Right. We almost apologize.
It's interesting because I'm in touch with a team now, with a group that is making a film in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say, it's like I'm smiling because it's so much what you're talking about, but there is something very special that they're presenting in the film and they're now working on it, and I don't want to say, but it's exactly on the other side of whatever you're describing, because we need to celebrate other things as well and commemorate other things as well, the other side. So I hope that they'll make it soon. So
where is going to be presented?
Hold on.
Well, having finished in June, and I felt there cannot be conflict of interest between my interests for the future and what I did for the why. I'm looking at, for different areas, different spaces. When it comes to literature, we should look probably at some art galleries. Right. And look at the relationship between Israeli literature, Hebrew literature, and visual arts. The tremendous achievements that artists, the whole music world. Mm-hmm. We bring in the classical music world 2 quartets from Israel. We know the generation of Zuckerman Perlman. We know the generation, and a few of the artists who are now in New York, but we don't see what is happening with the musicians of special merits that Nehemiah Dagan started.
Right.
And it's amazing. Which army has, what is musicians of special merits?
Yes.
Talented kids, musically talented, and now I think they broadened it to other arts. Who would, if they serve in the army, there is a big frustration. So they do serve in the army, but they play concerts for soldiers.
Yeah.
This is rare. No other army in the world has that. And I hope with all the horrors of today's politics that this is not going to change. We should celebrate that we have, string quartets in the army.
Yes.
And this is something to speak about.
Right.
And mainly hear it. And not just to say, oh, we are so great, But this is organic part of our life, at least of certain group.
Hanna, through the years in the 92nd Y, do you see any different of the interest from the audience into how deep you go into the Israeli cultural life, or what do they prefer? Because these are specific things that specific audience would like, and I know there's a much bigger variety from your point of view.
Look, New York, it very much depends who you reach.
Yeah.
I think that there is definitely interest in some political aspects of what's going on in Israel. There has been a continuous interest in some Israeli writers. I think what is now missing is the next generation. And, you know, it would be wonderful to have a non-staged reading of new plays, to have, whether in Hebrew or in English or both, to have a Hebrew evening. And there are tons of Israelis in the city. We're not serving them.
Right.
Or to the extent that we do, it is always somehow limited in some
No,
way.
that when Coletta Vital was, the ambassador to New York,
The
Coletta Vital,
consul.
her dream was to open an Israeli cultural center where this is exactly where everything like what you're talking about will happen. You know, a place for reading plays or reading a book, or music. I don't know, maybe you can establish it, but you need the support, I guess. I wish the government will help you.
But I think that
Sure.
between the government doesn't give anything. Between the 92nd Y, between Emmanuel Synagogue, between the JCC, between the IAC, you can see how it spreads through the city, and each one is finding their own base and home and whatever level of culture they want. But still, there is not one big center.
Sure,
And
just for that.
Yeah, that's one part. And the other part is the collaboration or dialogue with other cultures.
Yeah.
Because that's, what is happening among, let's say, the children of the Yakas, of the German Jewry, or grandchildren, discovering that tradition. Well, they're in the city. There is German consul, there is the Czech consulate. We have a special relationship with the Czechs, we Israelis. I'm Czech originally. It's a place for collaborations there. And again, it's more interesting if you see the creativity. We need something positive in life. I feel like we have, the bad comes whether we like it or not.
Right.
And that we have to fight. But we also, part of the energy and creativity comes with the new, the creative, the good.
Because the image, I mean, at least, there are enough people in New York, in America, who want to see what they, distinguish from anti-Semitic point of view. And culture is not even in their whatever horizon. And we have to balance, what stereotypes and what characteristics some people have just from anti-Semitism. It's terrible. And we have to reframe who we are, not inventing, because it's all there, as you say.
Everything is there, and we need somehow to get it across.
Yes.
And my dream, between the three of us, there is space and place for collaboration.
Right.
I think that as we sit here, we know third of the cultured and artistic Israelis in the city, probably more. I'm trying to be modest. What can we do? How should we do it? What is it we need to do? What are the right frameworks? How do we bring these things together? If there is a festival of Israeli performing and visual arts, can we get these institutions to collaborate?
But there's so many layers to this this cultural thing, because you have the official things from the Israeli government, and you have the different ages and different, like if it's the American Jews, so many things had changed. The older generation wanted different things, and the younger generation has many different departments. The Israelis have many venues. But New York and the United States, it's a huge market for the Israeli culture, but there is no center. And I think still that in Israel, sometimes I think they don't really understand, or they don't get it, and they don't have a policy that basically can glorify, or just to have a venue. I remember that I wanted to do something in the 14th Street Y, just as a center to bring together the whole thing and bridge with Israel. It's very hard to do, because you need a very big backbone in order to put it together and really create something on a very high level, and not just little visits, from Israel
like, for example, the Israeli theater, what's happened that you have individual playwrights like Joshua Sobol. He made a connection to the public theater. So they did show his stuff. I think Moti Lerner. But they don't take, Israeli theater cannot break now a little bit because of the band,
the band visit.
Yeah, and because of,
but this was a local production by Broadway.
Right.
So,
but it was a pickup from Israel. And this doesn't happen now, at least. Also, of course, television, movies, Israeli movies, even the best one, not easy to distribute. Netflix now pick up few Israeli films, and look, it's really amazing.
But it's all happening outside of the main system, because
it's individual efforts.
I think it also sits on the whole cultural thing in Israel, the way they see the United States, the way they see the Jews in the United States, and the way they see the Israelis in the United States. And when you come with the, hold on, sorry. And when you come with the negative attitude, we don't present Israelis outside of Israel, or we cannot bring certain things, or each one in each city will work by itself. It's very hard to really create a unity,
And you can open up a venue when slowly, the quality of Israeli art and artists, will go, it will sell, it will come out.
The thing that, you start by identifying a venue where you can do it.
Yes, right.
And you have to have the right collaborators with really goodwill and support. And also look outside, where else can it go? If you bring someone to New York, they should go to Los Angeles and stop in 3 places on the way.
Yes.
But it basically is creating a new cultural center. Very few countries that do. The Czechs have a cultural center.
The Irish too. Irish has also a center.
Irish has a fantastic repertoire.
Yes, the theater is doing wonderful.
They have the advantage also of the language.
Yes.
But you have certain, and Tzili is right, you have prejudices in Israel about America. And I say prejudice because it's uninformed. People come with some kind of an image of what is happening here. And it doesn't matter how much you travel between Israel and America, 100 people won't somehow change people's mind about that.
Yep. I think that one of the big problems in Israel is they don't change the idea. We grew up here, we were brought up this way. When I first came to New York, I was surprised to find something very different. And still over 30 years, 32 years I'm in New York, not much changed in the attitude from Israel towards what's
But I
going
didn't
on
know
there.
that. I thought that people wants to break into.
Yes, but there's something that you have to move on and move towards and melt the war between the two zones, you know, and really collaborate and let everybody thrive wherever they are, not in a negative way. There's so much room to do so much, and it's very hard. And I think the main thing should come from Israel, the way the culture is being presented and politically in a way, in a view, you know, in a way
They
of
must
thinking.
do it because now, you know, the climate, you come in a climate which, you know, there are a lot of people cannot support the way they used to support. You know what I mean? Also in America.
Sure.
You know,
it's a
so you have
different-
less people who can help you. And if the Israeli government doesn't pitch in, it's unbelievable.
Is the present government, what do we know what's going to happen?
You're right.
And there is a lot to expose or to bring or to show, which should not be terribly costly.
Right.
You know, I'm going to say something which, and please don't jump on me, but look at your work, Tzipi. Did anyone ever do a review of your work in New York?
No, I didn't. I never pushed it. That's my fault, totally.
Sure.
No. A lot of people do.
It's your fault or not. But I'm talking about certain achievement, and you have contributed to both sides of the ocean. It's important for Israel, it's important for this city, it's important for this country. How many people have you raised at NYU? You know, I always said when I was teaching, if I have one student who learned something for me per year, Dayenu, I achieved something.
I feel the same.
But you have been teaching over 30 years in this country, so just think what you did.
You're right.
And you definitely influenced more than one.
In this sense, I agree with you. I have so many students who really traveled a lot to the Oscar and Cannes, and, you know, yes. And I had both commercially and artistic. Yeah, this.
Yeah.
And she knows that I know that.
You are a New Yorker as much as you're a Tel Aviv woman. So, you know, we don't have to go as far as we need to get to Tel Aviv and bring it. But there is also this bridge which already exists.
Right.
There are composers like our joint friend Tami Muscal. I don't think she's exposed enough among Israelis. She's a wonderful composer.
Oh, she's talking about Tami. Okay.
Yeah, Tami.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think this is also, in a way, some preferences, you know, personal preferences, and also the level of exposure that you're willing to stay in one place in order to do it. You know, it mixes with so many decisions and personal things. But it's true, because I think that Israel has a lot to offer. Many of us who stay outside of Israel a lot, not everybody, but, you know, there's always this feeling of you need to apologize, or something is wrong, or you left. It's always, it has something else that shouldn't be there, We just extend certain things. And in Israel, they judge you right away, you know, on loyalty and all kind of things that have nothing to do with really with anything. But also, if I think that the whole idea of presenting the Israeli culture to the world, and to the Israelis everywhere, and to Jews everywhere, if everybody would think the same way, or would want to keep a positive body of creative work, you can really do something.
I think this is what she's aiming to.
And if Tami Muscal would create, doesn't matter if she's creating
Tami Muscal, I think it's a different.
New York or in Jerusalem or in Tel Aviv.
Right. Doesn't matter where you are, you should get the same.
I'm not sure if this is a good example, because
Why?
Because I don't want to say something which has nothing to do about what we talk, because there are very few space for women composer.
No, 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 no,
This is
no. It's
something,
not that.
believe me, I know about it.
But I'm not.
Difficult, but it's possible. The point is,
It's not
you
about
see,
men and women.
I
it's
have been, because I have spent my life living in different parts of the world, and as I said, I'm originally Czech. I was 14, I came to Israel. I came to this country. I thought I came for a short time. Here I am. Then I went to Prague back for 7 years. Then I came back here. So who am I? And once you start asking this question and you say, okay, the Czech hymn starts with "Where is my home?" And it is within the arts. It's not a place. It's the art, it's the culture, it's the languages. And in my case, it's Hebrew, it's Czech, it's
English.
probably
It's
even
okay.
English,
Yeah.
and then all the others. But this is, and the minute you admit to yourself and to other people, this is where we are, and there are positive aspects to that too. We can share certain things. It's like when you cook and there is, the different cuisines are influenced one by the Israeli cuisine is, after all, a hodgepodge of amazing influences.
Right.
But it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why there's the need to emphasize the exact thread of where you are, if you can be from few places. And it's like, I remember when I came to New York, the people used to say about me, she's originally from Israel. I'm not originally from Israel. I'm an Israeli.
Sure.
I'm an Israeli. I live in the United States. And when my kids are trying to say I'm 50% this, 15%, I said, no, you're American with an Israeli mom. That's all. It's like, and when you talk about mother tongue, and I said, I'm not sure that mother tongue is Hebrew, because for my kids, their first language is English. We don't share any language 100%. So you're built, you are what you are from all the ingredients that are used. And I don't think anybody can decide for me whether I'm from here to there, from there to someplace else. And it's richer and it's wider and it's different and it's okay. And you need to move with your whatever you do, not who you are personally. It's like whatever you do, you're an artist, you're a cultural person. So you do it wherever you are and you present yourself, which means I'm from there and there and there. And I think that if the Israelis would have think this way, it's time to let go of all the old ways. And if they would think this way, they would present everybody much easily. And it doesn't matter if you're in New York or in Israel or God knows where. It's okay.
But but if you use objective criteria, you see, although a lot of Israeli films, let's say, and theater, a lot of theater is what we saw local, right? But the more local it is, the more universal it is.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
If you have roots, it's fascinating. Havel wrote about that already in the late 70s, early 80s, the local and the universal, actually referring to Shakespeare, who wrote for one company in one place.
Yes.
And the thing is, I think that the younger generation, the generation of my kids, they are less judgmental. I think they're more curious. There is more open mind. And it's true, there is something interesting happening there with all these crazy nationalists or other things, and they're happening all over the world.
Right.
At the same time, there is a generation of really interesting younger people who are in their 40s now, who have achieved already something, who know what they're doing, 40s, 50s. And I think we also need to communicate with them and
Yes.
maybe even get some advice from them.
Yes, we should listen to them.
All the
I agree
time.
with you.
All the time.
I agree with
But
you.
you know, on the other hand, they really were open to a different world, because when we grew up in Israel, everybody brought their own culture from their own motherland. And then somehow we mishmashed everything, and then we created something Israeli that is very specific for us Israelis who grew up in Israel. But we came from everywhere. The younger generation already grew up with everywhere, because the world was open, more available. You got to places very quickly. Everybody moved from place to perform. And in a way, you know, I think that growing up in Israel, because everybody came to Israel, everything came to Israel. We saw everything. And then when I came to New York, I realized that many people don't see anything unless it's an American and they know it, part of America, or a specific
They
thing.
don't even want to see
have a point.
subtitles. They're too lazy to look at subtitles, Americans.
Now
They can read too quickly.
It's amazing. If it's not New York or LA or Chicago, maybe Boston, you cannot show foreign films, even not just Israeli.
I think it got much better.
Not now.
It got much
Not
better.
now. Now you don't see many.
No, I think Tzili, you're wrong. I think Tzipi is right. There is, look at the number of European films. You get some on Netflix.
Shrink.
You can get some, you know, there's a whole interesting wave of filmmakers in the Czech Republic again.
But they do now a remake. So if if a Czech director really likes a film, not
So
that
he
is,
will do a
they will let him
version.
do a remake. You know, that's something new. No, they do it, I think, in English.
So many things, so much stuff
don't
is
know.
getting lost in
Yes,
translation.
right.
Translation, yeah, and synchronization.
There is nothing you can do, because the theaters now are really limited. They're only showing big movies and Marvel movies. They don't show anymore.
But this is Corona, the side
No.
effect.
Yeah, side effects, but it's now
Yeah.
looked like the cinemas at last, after so many years that we were talking about the end of motion picture as we know it, it's now starting to show that it might go into, kind of Netflix and, Disney Plus and all this, but not to the motion picture we knew. There are not any more films, it's only digital. And in the theater, looking at Broadway now, it is a Corona effect, right? Because people like me and Tzili, we used to go like crazy, especially to off-Broadway, and now I don't really want to go yet.
But also years ago, I remember when they used to bring foreign productions, they used to have somebody to read the translation. So I used to like to take 1 year to keep available for the actors and 1 year for so then you really get the sense of what's going on. And sometimes when you need to read the subtitles, it's either far
you
or
lose the performance. Yeah,
you lose the whole thing. There's something very broad and very vague that covers it. It's like a tablecloth that covers everything, and then you don't really get the real stuff, which is pity. But I also think that it's a question of taste, because you have a very specific taste, and when you created the programs in the 92nd Y, you had a very strong thumb, on the level and on the quality of the shows. And you didn't go by the audience, you went by yourself. So you brought the audience to you, which it's, I think, harder to find today, because you try to pleasure the audience and to really reach out to as many as you can and give them what they want. I don't like this sentence, give them what they want. And this is something that I think we all miss, or it's just very different, like the show that we went to see, the Dollhouse 2.
Okay, wow.
We went to see the Dollhouse 2.
I don't know if you saw it.
And
no.
I think we were the oldest people at the audience, because everybody were like,
he's my colleague,
30s.
Yeah.
They loved it. We didn't like it at all. And
it took the Dollhouse by Ibsen. And
Yeah.
then, you have to look at the play, and suddenly Nora is black.
But this got together with another piece of culture that now you need to have multicolor on stage.
Right. Diversity is now the
It
name
has
of the
nothing
game.
to do
with
you know,
art.
one has nothing to do to the other, but it also, you know, it was like a little bit like a sitcom, and everybody were laughing so much, and we
didn't see the humor. By the way,
see
so
it.
you can get a cooperation, let's say, for theaters also in Israel, like Abima, Kameri, or the Philharmonic, or different conservatoriums. There is very big one, it's Stricker, which raise a lot of good musicians. So I don't know, are you going to try to reach institutions here in
I
America?
actually am in touch with a lot of people in Israel. I've been involved with the Jerusalem Academy for quite some time, with the Meitar Ensemble, which I consider really interesting and creative and seriously innovative. There is a lot. There might have to be a year of dialogues with people just to figure out what the right framework is.
Right.
The one good thing is I'm not in a hurry. My brain still works. We need to, no, I'm not kidding. You know, you have to, now we're sitting here and brainstorming. I'm sure when you're in New York, or if I get to Tel Aviv before you get back to New York, we'll sit down and continue brainstorming. Right. And come with ideas and throw away ideas. It's something which we really need. We don't have to run immediately. People now feel like, you know, you have to give a price for something and the schedule is this and this. No, you have to have the opportunity to say, this doesn't work. We need to find a different framework.
Right.
Or, no, I don't want this. It doesn't.
Yeah, you have to know what you don't want.
Exactly.
It's more difficult sometimes.
The honesty with yourself, you know, I used to laugh that there are certain artists I would not present according to my taste. And say once in 2 years I prostitute myself, I sell enough tickets. Well, now I don't want to. Right. I really, even if the venues will be small, it can be a venue of 50 people for reading sophisticated literature in Hebrew.
Right.
And there will be 50 people.
Yeah.
Next time there will be a bigger venue for 70. Right. I'm not talking about 100. And you build it and you try things which work and don't work. I want, you know, I work in when you create a film, there is the moment when you start throwing out stuff.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes I feel like I would love to be part of that process. I'm sure there are 100 people learning the process, meeting Tzipi Trope at work. That's in some way exciting because I become
part of the whole thing.
I become part of that.
Yeah.
The same, I worked with a group when we did at the Y, the Love in Fragments. I don't know if you saw it. If not, it's still, I think, on the web. I worked with a fantastic American-German choreographer, a stage designer to die for, who is actually a fantastic sculptor and painter. And with artists, actually, one of the performers is an Israeli dancer, singer. The whole thing, and it was built around Roland Barthes. And love in fragments, you know, when love is fragmented and the risks you take, and it had the different disciplines on stage. We threw out half of the stuff, but they also played Bach cello suites lying on their back. There were 2 classical musicians playing Jörg Widmann and playing Bach and playing,
right,
taking risks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the audience was part of it, and they were.
No, the audience are looking for it, but how you make it accessible? Like, for example, Joe's Pub.
Yeah.
You know, like
from the public
if you
theater.
Yeah, I know them well. Yeah.
So if you can have, for example, something like this with a different theater, you know, an extension like this, you know, maybe, you know, then You should see what's going on there. People are yearning for stuff to inspire them.
And different and learning, they actually want to discover.
Yes, yeah, in being inspired.
Yeah. And I don't think we should dumb down people. People believe it. It's the biggest mistake of a lot of presenters and a lot of producers. The dumbing down doesn't satisfy anybody.
Right. Yes.
But I think it's also, when it comes to producers, it's economical. Everything is so expensive, and it's hard to finance things, and you need to cover, from other side. So, yeah.
But
well, you are going. You will go.
That's not a new problem.
Hanna is hardcore.
No, it's amazing. She's going
true.
after a new venture, and it's a fantastic journey. It's like, wow, how many people you have with you as we speak?
At the moment, I'm talking to people. I don't have a team.
Oh.
I told you I finished in June, and then we entered Corona world and a new grandchild. And at this moment, I'm looking at different possibilities, creating the team, seeing what are the right places, who the right collaborators could be.
Yeah. It takes time.
What is available and how there is so much that is possible. And I always think, Café Zimmermann in Leipzig during Bach times, you know why they did the Café Cantata, this major classic? Promotion for café and for cakes, because that was the only time that women were allowed to go to a concert. They could go to a café.
Right.
So you got 50% more audience. We just need to think differently.
I think that if you concentrate on the material itself and not to build a place, just to use whatever is there in different ways and have all kinds of things that would work in many ways, but work together, to have the DNA. Yeah. And this can be wonderful. This can be wonderful.
Yeah. And my whole point is...
You're a very courageous woman.
Well...
Idealistic. Idealism is really making you courageous.
Hanna, remember the place downtown when you opened one from the 92nd by, I think you had a place that, remember? What happened to that?
Well, it closed because the Y couldn't afford to sustain it. When you open a venue, whether it's 100 places, 200 places, or 900 places, it costs the same to maintain.
Prices, yeah. It was
there was also a fabulous place in the village, the Subculture, and it was a great hall, and you could do there a lot of interesting stuff. They had to close. That was not maintainable. The question is, what is an economic model that can sustain itself and keep certain independence?
Right.
And say, this is what we believe in, this is what
we have to find somebody like Geffen, right?
I'm not necessarily.
No, somebody who loves the arts and care about Israeli American. Otherwise, no.
There's also so much that is being offered, and you need to take the audience from places. So I think maybe sometimes you just need to go to the audiences instead of bring them to you, and then it makes it easier. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to see what you come up with, because I'm sure it will be wonderful, and it's exciting.
And the Y actually are going to lose. I mean, lost by you going.
They have good people. It will be different. It's very creative. I think, for me, the Israeli element was really important to bring that and the different aspects of Israel. It might be different now. It might be more around the Jewish center rather than performing arts. But that's what it is. Yeah. I think that the JCC is doing some really interesting things, and it's important.
Yeah, very much.
And, there it's really to think what is possible, A, with what we have, B, how do we grow it into something which has a real identity?
Right.
And that's fun.
Listen, there is
This is-
still hope.
Let's close in this positive atmosphere. And congratulations for all the grandkids.
Right.
And
Thank you.
It's really fantastic. It's really, how do you say, tikkun? How do you say
Mhm.
in English? From your children many times. It's even better because you don't have responsibility. You can only give love.
I give love to
I
Yeah,
kind of
but you don't
buy
get- but you don't
completely.
get
Some of you
the-
have we do have responsibility, and you do care about their education.
Yes.
You say, oh no, you know, at my table you eat this way, and etc.
Right.
But it's different joy.
Yeah, it's a fantastic joy. I have
You
3.
make different mistakes, and that's the pleasure.
I agree with you.
Hannah. Thank you.
Okay, Hannah, it was
Thank
wonderful. Thank you.
And
And
see
see you
all
soon.
next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank to
Bye.
us.